Are you still into farming?
My classmate, Brad, said that, looking down on me as if I were something foolish. He's been the same sarcastic guy since high school. I simply nodded, yeah. Then Brad burst out laughing, roaring with laughter. What's so funny? As I tilted my head, puzzled, Brad said, "Poor folks should just head home. And this isn't a place for poor folks like you, even though it was a reunion. My name is John Carter. I was born to a farmer father, and I'm the eldest son in a farming family. My father is an incredibly earnest and sincere person, respected and greatly admired by those around him. He was respected and greatly admired by those around him. I've always been proud of him and the farming he's dedicated to, considering it a remarkable profession. My respected father always said, take care of the people and things you're involved with, especially those who care about you. Approach everything with gratitude and love, respect for everyone." It was a lesson from my father. I believe farming is a tough job. I had seen my father's struggles and the hardships he faced. It's far from an easy job, with early mornings and heavy labor during the day. Regardless of harsh sunlight, rain, or wind, the crops need care. Despite all the effort, not all crops flourish or make it to shipment. There are years of poor harvests or disasters, and not everything yields a reward. Yet, my father never complained, silently continuing with his farming. His words and teachings probably came from his quietly nurturing life in farming. Although I grew up hearing his words daily, I couldn't fully grasp their meaning. I admired my father's hard work, yet I couldn't completely understand the depth of his words. By the time I was in middle school, I wanted to engage in farming just like my father. I've heard that nowadays, even kids born into farming families don't want to take over the family business. Even if it was a great job, it was too risky and too much work. A childhood friend from my farming community said he'd go to college in New York after graduating high school. When I asked if he wouldn't take over the farm, he laughed it off, saying he had his own dreams. That surprised me. He was shocked when I asked him about it. It seems my way of thinking isn't that common. My friend mentioned it felt a bit old-fashioned. He thought of farming as unglamorous.
Of course, I respect my father and all, but I want to work in New York.
I nodded. I see. I understood what he meant. It's not that I don't find New York appealing, but farming holds its charm for me. I never thought of it as dull. Yet, thinking about it, there was a guy in class who looked down on me just because I was a farmer's son. His name was Brad. For some reason, he always found ways to annoy me. As I was pondering this, Brad approached me with a smirk.
Hey, John, heard your family's into farming. It's very rare these days. Must not make much money, sounds lame. Seriously though, you guys doing all right financially?
Brad laughed mockingly as he belittled me. Same old, same old. He's the center of attention in class with a bunch of followers, making him a troublesome presence. So, I decided to ignore him. Engaging him would bring me no good. Better let him say whatever he wants. When I kept ignoring him, he leaned in, always silent. How? Must be true then.
You're really poor, aren't you?
Pathetic, I thought, looking away, trying to move to another spot. Then I tried to move on to another place. Then Brad cut in front of me, raising his voice, "Hey, don't ignore me."
John, what do you even eat every day? Bet you don't have anything good. My father's a chef at a fancy restaurant, so I've got quite the taste.
I sighed in annoyance, and Brad, getting carried away, asked again, "What about you?" He laughed derisively. "Just eating your leftover veggies. Huh, like weeds or something." That really got under my skin, mocking our vegetables like that. I frowned, and he mirrored me. "Oh, what's up?"
Cut it out, Brad.
As we glared at each other, our classmate, Emily, stepped in. She faced Brad, saying something so rude would make anyone mad, right? Brad tried to make excuses, but Emily shut him down with a firm "no bits." Brad always seemed to back down to Emily, and for some reason, she always stood up for me.
John, the teacher said to bring your career counseling form.
"Oh, thanks?"
What are you planning to pursue?
Emily asked, and I told her, "I'm thinking of going to an agricultural high school."
That's where losers go.
But Emily, ignoring Brad, asked, "You're going to take over your family's farm?" I nodded. "Yes, I want to continue my father's work and study agriculture."
John, you're really grounded. It's amazing you already know what you want to do. I really respect you.
Emily said to me, and Brad glared at me resentfully and walked away. I told her it's nothing special, but Emily insisted it is, and cheerfully added, "Good luck." Her words kindled a warm fire in my heart, giving me encouragement. I then applied to an agricultural high school and was accepted. I was ready to start in the autumn. Brad was going to a high school out of state. The thought of escaping his taunts was a relief. I started my high school life with a fresh mind, but I had one regret. Emily went to a different high school. I was a bit sad that I couldn't see her anymore. Remembering Emily made me recall something. A childhood friend had told me Brad tried to confess to Emily. That made sense. So that's why he was insistent on poking me. His annoyance with me probably stemmed from his jealousy over Emily defending me. Ridiculous, I thought, but somehow I could understand his feelings. Perhaps because I cared about Emily too. Aside from missing Emily, my high school life was fulfilling. I completed the program, gaining knowledge in agriculture, ready to take over the family farm. However, my father told me to study a little more and to train under a well-known talented agriculturist. I agreed without hesitation, eager to become a respected farmer myself. I wanted to learn more and become a farmer that everyone would respect. This feeling was partly because of the past, where Brad kept making snide remarks at me. Farming is a great profession, but he said farming was poor or lame. I just couldn't accept it. That's why I was determined to train for further improvement. I'm looking forward to learning from you.
Same here. Let's do our best.
Upon arriving at the farm where I would train, I shook hands firmly with Anderson, who would become my mentor.
I'll make you an excellent farmer like your father. So give it your all.
He said this with a strong laugh. Anderson cultivates all kinds of vegetables and has a wide range of agricultural business, including supplying supermarkets and direct sales, as well as partnering with local eateries. Recently, he's also exploring an online business to deliver fresh vegetables without losing freshness. He's a well-known, skilled farmer in the area. I was nervous, expecting his guidance to be strict because he was so capable. However, Anderson's farming style and vision far exceeded my expectations and even made the strictness exciting. Anderson utilizes IDN data to visualize what was previously reliant on intuition or experience. This has made operations more efficient and significantly improved the harvest. Moreover, he's delegated what can be automated to machines, clearly separating tasks that require human touch. By reducing waste through automation and focusing manual labor where needed, he's minimized errors. It's truly a style that fuses agriculture with ID. All of these were revelations to me. I eagerly learn from Anderson every day, steadily gaining knowledge and skills. During this time, I asked Anderson a question. Anderson, what made you decide to get into farming? Was it because you were born into a farming family? He told me that he did grow up in a farming family, but he didn't think highly of farmers at first. He told me so. I was surprised and asked, then why?
During my student days, I was determined not to take over. I thought farming was lame. It's hard work and doesn't pay well. I looked down on it.
One thing forced him to become a farmer. It was because Anderson's father had fallen ill. Helping out with the farm alongside his mother, with support from neighboring farmers, was a significant experience for him.
It was tough. I was doing a job I didn't want to do and was sulky every day. I had no motivation at all.
His father fell ill, and he had no choice. That's how Anderson started helping out on the farm. Anderson struggled with farming initially until neighboring farmers, seeing his struggle, offered their help.
They were kind, teaching me the ropes of farming. I learned a lot.
Anderson recalled. Initially, he rejected any help, lashing out and even taking it out on his mother. He swore and even hit his mother.
They stuck with me for a long time. Even though they had their own work, they patiently taught me important lessons.
Anderson said with a smile.
Take care of the people and things you're involved with, especially those who care about you. Approach everything with gratitude and love.
I blinked in surprise. I started, and Anderson nodded.
It was your father who taught me about farming and changed my perspective.
He revealed it was my father who had helped Anderson. I remembered a period when my father was often away, living as if he had no day or night. Perhaps that was when he was helping Anderson. Anderson shared how my father's dedication and teachings gradually changed his views on farming. My father's work attitude and teachings made him think farming was a great job, and he changed his mind. From then on, he threw himself into farming with all his might, holding my father's words close to his heart. That's how he got to the present. Anderson said, "Did your father tell you those words every day?" When I jokingly asked, Anderson nodded vigorously.
Heard it every day?
We both laughed heartily.
Your father is an outstanding farmer. Make sure you become just as great a farmer as he is.
I nodded with determination. And so, 5 years passed, and I finally completed my training, mastering cutting-edge techniques to take over the family business. I am proud of the knowledge and skills my father and I developed while working with my father, a senior and respected man. Through collaboration and shared trials with my respected father and mentor, we evolved our farm into something truly remarkable. One day, an invitation to a middle school reunion arrived. A reunion, huh? I hesitated over marking the will not attend box, because Brad was organizing it. But then I wondered, will Emily be there? I hadn't seen Emily since middle school. Maybe she might come. The thought that she might attend made me decide to go. The reunion was at a renowned restaurant, it owned by Brad's family. Still acting superior, I presumed. The reunion started with Brad's cheers. It was a buffet, and everyone seemed to be enjoying catching up with friends. I casually looked for Emily. I found her at a table up front, chatting with friends. I stood up to greet her, but as if on cue, a voice stopped me from behind.
John, didn't think you'd show up.
Brad stood there smirking. Thought you wouldn't come, he said. He knew I was attending. His unchanged, mocking smile made me realize he was still the same unpleasant guy. Her grinning face looked the same as it had in middle school.
How's the taste of our restaurant?
Of course, it's delicious, I replied. Brad burst out laughing exaggeratedly. He laughed hard and said, "No way.
You couldn't possibly appreciate the taste of our restaurant."
Brad mocked, proclaiming his taste had become even more refined. I need this level of cuisine to be satisfied now. Delicious, Brad reveled in delight. To which I firmly said, I understand. Brad frowned. What? Don't lie.
So, I hear you're still doing farming,
he said, looking down on me. I simply nodded. Brad laughed out loud again. What's so funny about that? Brad taunted. Poor people, just go home, saying this place isn't for poor folks like you. Then the chef came out from the kitchen. What's going on? It was Brad's father as a chef. Pointing at me, Brad said, "Just this guy." But the chef looked at me and widened his eyes.
John, always a pleasure to have you.
He greeted me. I greeted him as well. Seeing this, Brad was visibly shaken and confused, asking the chef, "What's going on?"
Our ability to serve delicious dishes like this is impossible without John's help. The vegetables are grown on John's farm. Without his carefully nurtured, fresh produce, our restaurant wouldn't be what it is.
Brad looked utterly lost, unable to grasp the situation. I smiled at the chef, saying, "Our vegetables must be happy to be used in such a wonderful place."
John's vegetables are really famous for being delicious, you know.
Emily appeared from our behind. Then she said to Brad, "Didn't you know? Most of the vegetables used here are grown by John," the chef added. Brad's mouth hung open in shock. "You didn't disrespect John, did you?" The chef frowned. His face turned pale as he remembered how rude he had been. No, there's been no disrespect," I reassured the chef with a smile. "Brad, thanks for saying it's delicious," I said, offering gratitude and a slight bow. Farming taught me about cultivation and how to be a better person. My father's teachings about treating everyone and everything with care and approaching everything with gratitude and love finally made true sense to me. Vegetables have allowed me to grow as a person. Brad, his face red, looked down, perhaps ashamed of his behavior. He must have been ashamed of what he had done. I told them, "I'll be leaving now." It was best to leave before Brad felt even more embarrassed.
Hey, John. My family always buys your vegetables. Everyone says they're delicious.
Emily caught up to me, saying so. "Really, that's great to hear," I replied, beaming with joy. As Emily and I caught up on old times and shared our current lives, she mentioned, "Feels like we haven't talked enough." Taking a bold step, I asked her, "How about dinner after the reunion?" Emily smiled and made a circle with her finger, saying, "Sure." That marked the beginning of our relationship. Emily thought my being a farmer was cool. When I asked, "Isn't it lame?" she laughed and said, "No, having a boyfriend who cares so much about people and things is something I'm proud of." My father's teachings were right, I realized. Moving forward, I'll keep his words close to my heart, aiming to be an excellent farmer like my father and Anderson.